Secretary is directed to call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Antiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 21 senators present, Chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 41st Session Tuesday, January 14, 2025, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we defer the approval of the Journal of the 42nd Session, Wednesday, January 15, 2025.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, before we proceed with the business for the day, Mr. President, we'd like to recognize the birthday celebrant, a member of this chamber, the Honorable Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel. I move that we have a minute suspension to enable our colleagues to personally handshake and greet our Minority Leader.
Session is suspended, and happy birthday to our distinguished Minority Floor Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, before we proceed, we would like to acknowledge some guests present in the gallery today. Guests of Senator Grace Poe, Starlink Philippines, headed by Mr. Oliver Edelman, Attorney Marquez III, Attorney Jose, Attorney Agas, and Mr. Ramon Garcia. Guests of Senator Bongo, Denise Zamboanga, who just won the one interim women's atomweight MMA world title. Guests of Senator Mark Villar, same personality, Mr. President, Denise Zamboanga, Fritz Biagtan, Marita Soriano, and Bernardo Soriano. Guests of Senator De La Rosa, Police Colonel Molitas, Abalos, Mariano, Master Sergeant Mariwa, Colonel Magnaye, Baby Mariano, Elijah Inclan, Rona Cris Enabe, as well as the guests of Senator Cynthia Villar, Congressman Neptali Boyat Gonzalez, with his spouse, Congresswoman Queenie Gonzalez.
To the aforementioned guests, welcome to your Senate. Majority Floor Leaders.
Mr. President, I move to consider on third reading Senate Bill number 2837 is the bill extending the term of the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation. The printed copies were electronically distributed to the members of this chamber on January 16, 2025 in compliance with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to read the title only of the bill and to proceed to roll call vote.
An act extending the corporate term of the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation, amending for the purpose Section 50 of Republic Act Number 9136, otherwise known as the Electric Power Industry Reform Act of 2001. Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Antiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 20 affirmative votes, 0 negative, 0 abstention, Senate Bill number 2837 is approved on third reading. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move to consider on third reading House Bill number 10841. This is the bill fixing the term of office of the Philippine Coast Guard. The printed copies were electronically distributed to the members of this chamber on January 15, 2025 in compliance with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to read the title only of the measure and to proceed to roll call vote.
An act fixing the term of the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant and for other purposes. Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Antiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 21 affirmative votes, 0 negative, 0 abstention, House Bill number 10841 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, before we proceed with the adoption of other measures, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is seeking the floor to explain his vote. I move that he be recognized, and then Senator Rafi Tulfo will likewise do the same.
And then Senator Villanueva. But before the chair recognizes Senator Gatchalian, may the chair remind our invited guests to settle down, and also the Office of the Sergeant at Arms to kindly maintain order. Senator Gatchalian, you may proceed, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, esteemed colleagues. Thank you, Majority Leader. I rise today to cast my yes vote on this bill that seeks to fix the term of the Office of the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant by setting a fixed 3-year term for the Commandant akin to the tenure of the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. This measure brings stability to the leadership of the Philippine Coast Guard. A fixed term will allow the Commandant to focus on long-term programs and reforms instead of being hampered by uncertainties in tenure. It also maintains stringent qualifications for the role, ensuring that only the most capable individuals lead this vital institution. Through this measure, we are not only strengthening the leadership of the Philippine Coast Guard, but also empowering its men and women to perform their duties under clear and stable guidance. Furthermore, Mr. President, I take this opportunity to manifest a call to my fellow senators to prioritize the passage of a related bill that strengthens the policy and organizational structure of the Philippine Coast Guard. A robust and well-supported Coast Guard is critical to our national security and sovereignty, our economic resilience, and our stewardship of the environment. By investing in its capacity, we pave the way for a more secure, prosperous, and sustainable future for our country. For these reasons, I cast my vote in favor of this bill. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, esteemed colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Gatchalian. Duly noted and entered into the records. Senator Tulfo is recognized for his explanation of vote. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President, honorable members of this august chamber, ladies and gentlemen. As your chairperson of the Committee on Public Service, I would like to manifest my full support for House Bill number 10841 under Committee Report number 432. Hence, I voted yes. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, the situation in the West Philippine Sea has been escalating for the past several months, and our Philippine Coast Guard has been our most reliable line of defense and law enforcement support in our waters. The PCG has likewise been a constant presence in maintaining our claim over our rights in the maritime zones. Thus, it is crucial at this time to maintain a continuity of leadership. Fixing the term of the PCG Commandant will ensure this continuity not just in leadership, but also consistency in policy direction and program implementation. Again, Mr. President, allow me to extend my wholehearted support for the Philippine Coast Guard to the passage of this important measure. Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon to all.
Noted and entered into the record. Senator Villanueva is likewise recognized to explain his vote. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, esteemed colleagues. A blessed afternoon to all of you. We'd like to put into the records, Mr. President, our full support for the approval on third and final reading on House Bill number 10841, or the Act Fixing the Term of Office of the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant and for other purposes. We'd like to extend also our sincerest thanks to our hardworking sponsor, our Senate President, for his leadership in pushing for this critical measure. Mr. President, this representation has long recognized the critical role that the Philippine Coast Guard plays in securing our country's borders and monitoring over 36,000 kilometers of shoreline. We understand their vital role in collaborating with our agencies on immigration, customs, and law enforcement to intercept human trafficking, smuggling, and the escape of criminals who attempt to escape the reach of the Philippine government through maritime routes. This is why, Mr. President, in relation to this particular measure, we are approving today. We also filed Senate Bill number 2307, or the Philippine Coast Guard Modernization Act, to enhance their capabilities in maritime safety, security, law enforcement, and provide critical upgrades to their personnel and facilities. Mr. President, it is our hope that with the passage of the measure, the leadership of Philippine Coast Guard will be strengthened and that we can consolidate further support for the Philippine Coast Guard's modernization. Again, we vote yes to this measure. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at pagpalain tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Duly noted and entered into the records. Senator Jinggoy Estrada, our Senate President Pro Tem, is recognized to explain his vote as well. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues and fellow Filipinos, today I express my full support for House Bill number 10841, or an act fixing the term of office of the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant and for other purposes, to which I would like to be made co-author and co-sponsor. This bill is an important step forward in strengthening the Philippine Coast Guard by introducing necessary reforms to its leadership, structure, ensuring continuity, stability, and effective governance in the agency. One of the key reasons I support this bill is because it will ensure that the leadership of the Philippine Coast Guard remains stable and focused on long-term goals rather than being subjected to frequent political shifts. The fixed term for the commandant will allow the PCG to effectively carry out its duties without being distracted by unnecessary leadership transitions. This stability will foster an environment where the commandant can make crucial decisions, drive reforms, and execute strategies that have long-lasting impacts on the agency's capability to serve our country. And the passage of this bill is an important step in ensuring the success and growth of the Philippine Coast Guard, and I am proud to cast my vote in favor of it. With this reform, we send a clear message that we value the importance of a strong and capable Coast Guard, and that we are committed to providing them with the leadership and support they need to fulfill their mission. Thank you, and may God bless the Philippine Coast Guard and the Filipino people.
Duly noted and entered into the records. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Ramon Revilla Jr. would like to have his vote explanation be inserted into records, Mr. President. Mr. President,
Noted and entered into the records.
Mr. President, this representation would likewise seek the principal author's concurrence that I be made a co-sponsor of the measure. Mr. President, and allow me to explain my vote. Mr. President, 2 days ago, the Secretary of State designate, Marco Rubio, made a statement emphasizing the importance of Philippine-U.S. relationship because of the importance of Taiwan Strait as well as the West Philippine Sea. This statement, Mr. President, made a few days, and we're now just a few hours before the second Donald Trump presidency assumes office, is very timely because it provides a forward-looking framework on how our maritime forces should operate. And this is very relevant, Mr. President. House Bill number 10841, fixing the term of office of the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant, is important likewise because we live in an era not just of turbulent waters, but with geopolitical tensions. With the passage of this measure, we will have continuity of leadership, a definitive term that allows the Commandant to fully implement maritime security plans, infrastructure projects, and modernization programs without the risk of abrupt leadership changes. Number two, we will have institutional independence by insulating the position, as mentioned by our good Senate President pro tempore, from undue political interference. We strengthen the autonomy and integrity of the Philippine Coast Guard, allowing it to focus solely on its mandate. And most importantly, it will achieve a strategic modernization program. As the PCG continues to expand its fleet, napakarami na po nilang barko at kagamitan ngayon. It will improve its technical capabilities, enhance its personal training, and have a stable leadership that modernization efforts aligns with long-term national goals. Mr. President, this measure likewise mirrors similar practices of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine National Police, which benefit from fixed term for leadership positions. Mr. President, again, let us recognize the sacrifices and dedication of our Coast Guard personnel. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Noted and entered into the records. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Mark Villar is seeking the floor to have an anterior explanation of vote relative to the previous PSALM law which we just approved, Mr. President. I move that it be recognized.
Senator Villar is so recognized for that purpose. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to manifest my gratitude to this August Chamber for your steadfast support of Senate Bill number 2837 under Committee Report number 331, extending the corporate term of the Power Sector Asset Liabilities Management Corporation, or PSAM. Mr. President, when PSAM was created in 2001 through the EPIRA law, they were entrusted to formulate and implement a privatization plan for the government's energy assets previously held by the National Power Corporation. For the past 23 years, PSAM has managed the orderly sale, disposition, and privatization of these assets with the objective of liquidating all NPC financial obligations and stranded contract costs. As of December 2023, PSAM substantially reduced its financial obligations by 76%, or from 1.2 trillion pesos to 294 billion pesos. PSAM likewise remitted to the Bureau of Treasury around 26 billion pesos as dividends to the national government. Mr. President, through this bill, we will provide PSAM 5 more years to give them sufficient time to settle existing obligations. This will also enable PSAM to commence asset and management plans for several significant independent power producer facilities and real estate assets. Mr. President, before I end, I would like to extend my gratitude to our colleagues who helped craft this bill. Deputy Majority Floor Leader J.V. Ejercito, Senator Rafi Tulfo, and Senator Pia Cayetano. I would also like to thank our Minority Leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, and Senator Win Gatchalian for sharing their wealth of wisdom in further enhancing this bill. Thank you very much to this August Chamber for allowing PSAM to continue its mandate as enshrined in the EPIRA. Maraming salamat po.
Noted and entered into the records. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution 1270. This is the resolution commending Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Mariano and Correction Officer Melvin Cabanal Magnaye.
Any objection? Hearing none, consideration of the aforementioned resolution is now in order. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, may we ask that the Secretary be directed to read the title of the resolution?
Secretary is directed to read the title only of the resolution.
Resolution commending Police Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Mariano and Correction Officer 1 Melvin Cabanal Magnaye of the Bureau of Corrections for their bravery and dedication to protect the public.
Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move to recognize Senator Ronald De La Rosa.
Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa is recognized. You may proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, Majority Leader. Good afternoon, Mr. President, dear colleagues. Tunay nga po na hindi nagpapahinga ang mga kampon ng kasamaan. Wala po silang patawad. Walang pinalalampas na mga sandali. Walang pinipiling lugar. Ginoong Pangulo, habang ang ating mga kababayan
ay naghahanda sa pagpapalit ng taon, abala rin ang mga kriminal. Marahil ay taon lamang ang nagbabago para sa kanila, ngunit ang kanilang mga gawi at nakasanayang buhay ng karahasan ay nanatili. At sa maraming pagkakataon, ang mga selebrasyon at importanteng okasyon ay sinasamantala ng mga kriminal para ipagpatuloy ang kanilang mga masasamang gawain. Mabuti na lamang po at mayroon tayong mga alagad ng batas na nagsilbing guardian angels ng ating mga kababayan. On December 31, 2024, the two most wanted criminals in Zamboanga Peninsula opened fire on Police Senior Master Sergeant Ryan Mariano, a member of the station Drug Enforcement Team of the Zamboanga City Police Station 9 under the leadership of Zamboanga City Police Director Police Colonel Kimberly Mulitas. He was then rendering New Year's Eve covert security duty at Mount Carmel Parish Church. Meanwhile, Bureau of Correction Officer 1, Melvin Magnahi, was passing by when the shootout ensued. Please watch their bravery in the video. Yan na yung riding in tandem, Mr. President. Yung dalawa na yan, nakamotor. Huminto. Yung isang gunman na sa likod, yun. So, parang sini, Mr. President. In that juncture, may tama na siya, yung ating pulis na si Sergeant Mariano. Isa sa dibdib, isa sa hita. Kaya hindi na siya makatayo. Nagkukover siya dyan sa sasakyan. Pasalamat tayo sa may-ari ng sasakyan na yan, na isa ring kabaro, na kinubiran siya. Bumaba yung driver ng sasakyan na nag-cover, nilapitan siya. Yan yung si Correction Officer Cabanal Melvin Magnay. Assigned of Bureau of Correction. Kinuha siya para dalhin sa sasakyan. Dalhin sa ospital. Having witnessed the heroism and courage of Police Senior Master Sergeant Mariano and Bureau of Correction Officer 1, Magnay, I am honored to stand here today to sponsor proposed Senate Resolution number 1270. Mayroon po tayong kasabihan, aanhin pa ang damo kung patay na ang kabayo. Dapat nga po na maalala at maparangalan, ngunit naway maisagawa ito habang kapiling pa natin silang mga nagpapamalas ng kabayanihan. Ginawa po natin ang pagkilala at pagpaparangal na ito sa ating mga bayaning pulis na hindi naiba sa mga namatay in the line of duty. Pareho silang gumampan sa sinumpaang tungkulin at tinanggap ang kapalaran na ang pagiging alagad ng batas ay may kakambal na panganib. Laging isang paa ang nasa hukay. Pareho sila nagbuwis at bubuwis ng kanilang buhay. We mourn our law enforcers, our heroes, that we have lost. Their heroism and love for country and peace will never be forgotten. We honor them For those who were fortunate to have survived the perils of fighting crimes, we should do the same. We honor them. There is no greater amount of nobility than to give one's life to protect another. However, we should always want and pray that in the process of keeping others from harm, our law enforcers live and tell the tale. Mahirap po ang buhay ng isang pulis. Nagkalat po ang banta mula sa mga kriminal at mga nagnanais na mansahan ang malinis na reputasyon. Hindi po nagsisilbing pananggalang ang uniforme ng kanilang isinuot sa araw-araw. May bigat po itong taglay at iyon ay ang responsibilidad na maging mabuti at marangal sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Oftentimes, we only hear or read in the news about police officers involved in scandalous and unpleasant incidents that taint the name and badge of police officers. Today, Mr. President, I would like to say it is different. We witnessed an unpleasant incident, but not one that tarnished and besmirched the reputation of the PNP. It is an unpleasant incident that showed our police officers grit and determination to serve and protect the public. Even when he was already shot in the chest, his dedication remained steadfast. Likewise, this unpleasant incident demonstrated how our kabaro do take care of one another. For information of everyone, the suspects were successfully neutralized by PSA Miss Mariano are two of the most wanted criminals in Region 9. They are known to be involved in drug trafficking and several shooting incidents. They had been under surveillance for their criminal activities that have caused distress in the community. Without the bravery of PSA Miss Mariano and boldness of Correction Officer Magnay, these two criminals would have continued to pose significant threat to public safety and security. For this reason, Mr. President, the gallantry of both PSA Miss Mariano and Correction Officer Juan Magnay deserves recognition. By the way, I was then the chief of both agencies, the PNP and the Bureau of Correction. Kaya mga produkto ko itong dalawa, Mr. President. It showed their extraordinary ability